Alright, so I'm making this video explaining how I grew all my pepper plants, and this advice is going to be tailored to college students or anybody who's short on money, time, and space. So if you're like renting an apartment or renting a house somewhere where you don't want to make any long-term expensive changes to your landscape, or you simply don't have the space for like a large raised bed, my advice will be for you, because I managed to grow 4 different pepper plants, and this would be applicable to growing for any just single vegetables in containers in Southern California for under $50 for all 4 plants for everything. So I'm going to explain it all to you. So the first thing I want to cover is containers. So depending on what plant you're going to grow, every plant will have a different requirement for how much soil it needs when growing in containers. So peppers, they recommend 5 gallons, but they can grow in 3 gallons. This is like around a 2 or 3 gallon pot. I've seen people grow them in 1 gallon grow bags. But yeah, that's really, really important. You can't have them growing in a container that's too small, or else the roots will become root bound. It won't grow, it'll just die. Don't be picky with your containers. Plastic is perfectly fine. The only thing you don't want to do is buy any black plastic containers, because the black plastic will absorb all the sun, it'll absorb all the heat, and it'll transfer it to the soil, and it can kill your roots. So go for lighter colors. White is the best because it'll reflect all the sunlight, but I wanted mine to be pretty, so I got blue. So I got this from Daiso. You can get this was a bucket too, it wasn't even a pot. You can just, with scissors, put holes in the bottom. So you can buy any large bucket from the Dollar Tree, the 99-cent store. Those stores will be your best friends. You can buy gardening tools and you can buy your pots there. So again, don't be picky with your containers. As long as it's the right size and as long as you're able to make drainage holes on the bottom, you're golden. The soil, you're going to have to spend some money on. Bags of soil, at least here in Southern California, will cost between $5 to $15 per bag, per like big bag, 32 quart bags. The better quality the soil, the higher price it's going to be. I used the cheapest soil that they had at Home Depot when I went there. It was, I think, like $5 a bag. It was on sale, and I got 2 bags, and I only used a bag and a half for all my pepper plants and for some of my herbs as well. Make sure when you're growing in containers, you get container mix. There's garden soil, and then there's potting mix or container mix. Make sure you get potting or container mix that is good for vegetables, so it'll say like safe for vegetables and fruits. So make sure you get container mix and not garden soil, because garden soil is different. It is supposed to be mixed in with the native soil, and it's not good for containers because it won't hold water, and it's mixed differently, so that it won't be successful in the container. There's not many ways that you can save on soil. You really just do have to pay whatever soil is around you you really just have to pay for whatever soil is around you. But again, if it's the cheapest soil that's only like $5 or $6 a bag, sometimes you can get it for cheaper on sale. It's not going to be that bad. That's the other benefit of container gardening, is that you save money by only using the soil that you need and that the plant needs. By the time the plant has like gone through its full life cycle, all the soil will be used, all of the nutrients will be used up, so you know for a fact that you're not wasting anything. The plants themselves, sometimes at Home Depot or Lowe's, there will be 2 plants per little like 4-inch pot that they give you, and that's good, because basically what you can do is, once you're home, you can like very carefully separate those 2 plants, set them into 2 different containers, and now you have 2 plants. So you get 2 plants for the price of 1. Another way to save money on the actual starter plants is joining local Facebook groups or gardening groups on like Facebook, or I don't know what other forums would be out there. I only know Facebook. But if you join local gardening groups, a lot of people who start seeds, they will start their seeds and then they end up having like 10 tomato plants in their yard that they don't know what to do with, and they'll just give them out, or they'll trade. you for like seeds or something else. So I would highly recommend looking into those. If you live in any sort of metropolitan area like San Diego, Orange County, LA, San Francisco, there will definitely be gardener groups on there. And that would be a very good way to save money if you don't want to buy plants from a big box store or even a local nursery. But again, these plants were only like $3 or $4 each, so not too expensive. $12 for 4 plants wasn't too bad. Fertilizer is kind of one of those things that you're just gonna have to buy as well. So the thing is that most of these things, so the container, the soil, and the fertilizer, you can reuse. So even though everything is going to be $50 in total now, you won't have to pay $50 every season. You only have to pay for your plants, or just for your compost, or just for any other little extra things that you need. So the total cost of everything. So the pots, I bought 4 pots for $1.50 each, and that was a total of $6.40. The plants were $4 each for 4 plants, so it was $16. The soil, I got 2 bags, that was $12, and I still have some left over, so maybe more like $9 if we're just going to consider the peppers. And the fertilizer was $15. So overall, I believe it came out to be $49.60, which we're just going to call $50. So 4 pepper plants, containers, soil, plants, fertilizer, the main things you need to actually buy to grow, $50. And you don't have to spend $50 in the next season and the next and the next and the next. So I think that's a pretty good deal. Definitely, like, if you see a lot of gardening channels will have like the big raised bed planters and like the self-watering pots and like a drip irrigation system, and you don't really need all of that. Like, if you have the money, if you have the space and the time to do that, by all means go for it. It's fantastic. But I'm just letting you know that if you are tight on money and you still really want to do this, you totally can. It is not necessary to have all the latest and fancy equipment. If you really tried, you could get everything for free. And here's the why. Because when you join those gardening groups, people will give out stuff for free. People will have too many pots, or they'll have too much soil, or they have too many starter plants, and they'll just say, hey, I'm at this so-and-so location, come by if you want tomatoes, or come by if you want these 5-gallon pots that I have no use for anymore. So if you really tried, you could get everything you needed for free. The most difficult things to get for free would be soil and probably the fertilizer. People usually don't give up their fertilizer because they will need it eventually. And soil is kind of hard because, again, people will reuse their soil. So, but it is possible. I've seen people put up their soil, they order too much soil, and they will just give it out for free for whoever wants it. So you can do it for free if you really want to. Other thing I highly recommend is look around like the beginnings and the ends of the months, when people are moving out of their apartments from their homes and everything, because they don't want to bring dirt with them, they don't want to bring plants, they don't want to bring pots with them, so they'll leave them out on the curb, or they'll put them up on Craigslist. So definitely check moving sales and just the neighborhoods around like the start and ends of the months, because that's where you're going to find the most free stuff around. Another thing, when it comes to tools, you really don't need any fancy tools. You can use your hands to shovel dirt. If you have like, you don't even need gloves, you can use Ziploc bags or plastic bags to cover your hands with, or just your bare hands with the soil, just wash them well afterwards. You don't need fancy tools. Again, I use scissors for this, I don't even need to use a drill or power tools to get my pots ready. These stakes I had bought from Daiso, but when the plants were young, I literally just got twigs from around the yard and staked them with the twigs. So you just kind of have to think of things as like, okay, the plant has needs, there's some problem and it needs a solution, and you just look around and you find something that will fit that solution. Gardening doesn't have to be expensive. Growing your own plants doesn't have to be expensive. Everything is relatively cheap as long as you know exactly what you need. I would say stay on the side of caution. So if you think you might need 2 bags of soil, but you're kind of like iffy about it, just buy 1. If you need to, just go back and get a second one. Always buy less, and try to find things that you can replace with free things around you. Like grass for the mulch, or leaves for the mulch, or twigs for the stakes. Use an old spoon for, honestly, like use an old ladle for for scooping things. Like, you don't have to spend money for everything. You don't have to have the fanciest garden with all the newest things and all the best soil and the best fertilizer. You don't need all of that. As long as you just give your plant exactly what it needs to survive and to thrive, you're good. So, it doesn't have to look pretty. It can. You can do your best, but it doesn't have to look pretty at all. And you won't even really care once your peppers actually start growing. You don't care how it looks. Just having them there is enough. So, yeah. Those are my tips for growing vegetables, and peppers in particular, when you are tight on money and tight on space. Hope that helps.